Hello everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Live or Diecast. I want to thank each and every single one of you for tuning in. And today we're going to be working on the Datsun 510. Done some details on the front headlights, the rear tail lights, and underneath. But I want to do a wheel swap on it. So today we're going to be working on axle tubes for our wheel swap. The wheels we want are too narrow. The axles are too narrow, so we're going to put some axle tubes in and cut the axles, install those into our axle tubes. Today we're going to be using the Captain America MBK van, and we're going to take the wheels from it and we're going to put those on the Datsun 510. Hope everybody's having a wonderful day. This thing's giving me a bit of trouble, but we'll get it open and we'll get to work. Yeah, I like those. I think those are going to look good on the 510. Well, let's see. Pretty cool van. Cool graphics on the side. It's got a lowered stance, metal base. I picked this up at Walmart on sale for $3.88. We're going to drill out the rivet, take it apart, extract our wheels and axles. It's time for some fun. We will be using our 9/64 drill bit first. And we're going to drill the rivets out. There's a part number. Ordered mine on Amazon. You do not have to drill and rivet to put these cars back together. There are several different options to choose from, but using screws is my method that I prefer. All right, let's take our 9/64 drill bit and let's drill out the rivets. We'll put a little bit of oil, little drop there, little drop there, and that'll lubricate our drill bit, help to keep it sharp. Usually I do all my details when it's done. My son wanted this Datsun 510. He wanted all the details done. He was happy with it, and then he decided that he wanted a wheel swap. So usually I do all the details after I've performed all of this work. On this one, unfortunately, I'm doing it backwards. And it's not ready yet. Let's drill a little bit more. Nope, it's just not ready. Come on, there we go. All right, now we're going to take our little screwdriver. We're just going to get in between those little tabs. We're going to put a little bit of pressure, separate them just enough to slip that tire and axle assembly out cleanly. This is a plastic base, usually a little easier on the plastic bases. The metal bases can sometimes give you a little bit of trouble, but I've seemed to come up with a great way that works for me and has limited my troubles. All right, let's set those to the side. All right, taking our 9/64 drill bit, we're going to drill out the van, and it only has one. This one came out pretty easy. There's that little ring that we're just looking to use our bit to get that little ring off, and once we've got that off and out of the way, it should separate and come apart pretty easy. You shouldn't have to apply a lot of pressure, just a little bit, and boom, there she comes. This one only had one rivet, and that was nice. Let's get this thing apart, and let's get our wheels and axles out of here. Set that to the side. All right, now I use these little end nips, and I just nip off those little metal tabs. And we've got our wheels, and as I said, these are too narrow, so they won't fit right onto the base of the 510. So we're going to have to make some axle tubes, and we're going to get into that. I'm going to show you how I do it. Yeah, as you can see, they're just too narrow. The base is too wide. I mean, I've got some options. I could, use my Dremel and cutting disc and cut out that a little bit, but I'm not. I'm just going to use axle tubes, and I'm going to show you all how I do it. I use this copper tubing and get at the hobby store. And we're going to use a drill bit that's about the same size as our copper tubing, the same diameter. And that little channel where the axle slides and fits down into, we're going to take that drill bit and we're going to drill that out a little bit bigger so that our copper tube will fit in there nicely. Again, this is a plastic base, so it takes very little effort. But you just want a nice clean channel for your axle tube to sit in. And then once we get that cleaned out nicely, the axle tube fits in there nice. We'll get it all measured out, get us some JB weld mixed up, and we will get our axle tubes set into place. When you do this, you want that axle tube to the inside of the chassis on both sides. You do not want any of the copper sticking out at all. The rough edges will touch the back of the wheel, and the wheels won't spin nice and freely. We've got our channel cleaned out pretty good here. Seems to fit in there pretty nice. Now let's do the other end. Repeat the process. Be very careful and cautious to keep your hand, your fingers out of the way. The drill bit will go into your fingers if you put it in the way. So let's keep our fingers and limbs out of reach from that drill bit. All right, I think we got a little bit more, and then we'll be ready to get our axle tubes cut to size, and we will get them installed into place. All right, we've cleaned up our mess, got all our metal shavings and stuff out of the way here. Clean our grooves out real nice. Everything's looking good. It's coming together nicely. So we're going to stick it in there. Make sure that copper is inside the chassis on both sides. Make a mark, and I use a utility knife with a sharp blade and just kind of roll it to cut it to get the size I need. And we'll do that, and we'll repeat the process on the other end. Grab my utility knife, and let's cut this axle tube. Again, I got my copper tubing at the hobby store. I forget how much it was. It wasn't very expensive, but if you're going to be doing modifications, making your own axles and stuff, this axle tube is a necessity. So you will want to definitely have some of this in your arsenal. All right, now let's cut another one. Be careful not to apply too much pressure when you're using your utility knife. If you do, what will happen is you will actually smash the end of the copper where you're trying to insert your axle, and you will have trouble getting that axle into it. So be sure not to apply too much pressure. Slight amount of pressure, just roll back and forth nice and easy until it snaps, and then boom, there you go. It's not smashed, and your axle should slide right in nice and easy. You know, working with small stuff like this can get tedious and frustrating at times, and you know, when I get frustrated, I just simply set it down. I walk away, I go do something else for an hour or two, and I come back to it with a fresh mind, and my patience is back up and going and ready to start again. Remember, these are toy cars. It's supposed to be fun. If it stresses you out, get up and walk away. Come back later with a fresh frame of mind. Okay, so we've got our axle tubes cut to size, and we're ready to mix up some JB Weld. I use the JB Quick. I like it. It sets up pretty fast. You know, not too fast where I can't work with it, but I like it, so it's what I use. I picked it up at the local Disappointment, also known as Walmart. All right, we're just going to use the old card from the van that we're stealing the wheels from, and we're going to mix us up some JB Weld. We're going to put the two parts here, half, 50-50, half one part, half of the other, and we're going to give those a good mixing, stirring up until it becomes a dark gray color, and we will be ready to set our axle tubes in place. Again, I want to be very clear that the copper needs to be inside the chassis on both sides. You do not want any of that copper axle tube sticking out at all. All right, we've got our JB weld mixed up here. Let's get some on these axles and get them set in their place. You usually have 5-10 minutes to work with this stuff. So like I said, it doesn't set up really fast, but it sets up, pretty quick and gives you plenty of time to work with it. And then you don't have to wait hours and hours for it to set up. In about 30 minutes or so, you should be able to start fooling with it again. All right, got that one in this little channel. Got the JB weld on it, and we're going to set it to the side. We're going to let it set up. Now we're going to come back. Our tubes have been setting. The JB weld is dry, and now we're going to drill and tap the body of the 510 so that we can use screws to go back together with it. I'm going to use my number 51 drill bit and my number 52 plug tap. First I'm going to drill. I'm going to go about 1/8 of an inch deep on each post. All right, we've got those drilled out. Now we're going to use our number 52 plug tap, and we are going to make some threads in the holes that we just drilled in those posts. Again, be easy. Go a little bit in, back it out a little bit, and each time you back it out, you're cleaning those threads just a little bit at a time. You do not want to turn it in, too many turns and then try to back it out, because what will happen is you'll snap your plug tap off in the post, and then you've got a whole nother mess to deal with, and we want to try to avoid that at all costs. The screws I use are self-tapping, but I like to make threads in the posts. It just makes it that much easier for the screw to go in, on final assembly. All right, we've got both posts drilled and tapped, and I like to take my screws and run them in just to make sure everything's going to go together nicely, so that I don't get any surprises, at final assembly. We'll run the screws in, make sure everything fits nice, feels good, and we'll proceed. All right, got them in, we're good to go. Got the little Datsun emblem painted, the headlights, the tail lights. Even did the little bumper. I like the color and decals. My son did not want a paint job. He really liked the livery and the color on this casting, so it will be staying the same. And I did go ahead and drill out the van. We're going to put the old wheels from the Datsun on the van. It's a premium, so we're going to put it back together. I'm going to put a screw in it and just set it on the shelf. And then down the road, if I find a set of wheels for it that I like, it'll be easy. I'll just have to unscrew it, take it apart, wheel swap it, screw it back together, and voila. And actually, those wheels really don't look that bad on it, in my opinion. Put the screw in it, button it up, set it to the side, and proceed on our Datsun 510. And voila. Doesn't look terrible. All right, it's time to install our new wheels on the Datsun 510 chassis in the axle tubes that we've put into place. We've allowed time for them to dry and set up. Now we can proceed with our wheel and axle installation. All right, so we mixed up some JB Weld. I took and cut the axles in half, dipped the end in the JB Weld just a little bit, and then I stuck the axle in the axle tube, and voila. I've got it on the axle jig, so it ensures everything lines up straight. My son did want white interior, so as you can see, I have painted the interior white, and he will like that. I think it'll look good with the white stickers. Now here, because we put the axle tubes in, these little channels on the interior part will not fit over. So if I tried to put this together now, it wouldn't close up nicely. So what we're going to do is we're going to take and we're just going to use our end nips and we're just going to snip those off. Be careful not to go too high, but just enough where it sits nicely and it can ensure you can screw it together without forcing or pressing anything too hard. So we'll snip those off. Did the front, and now we'll do the rear. Get out of there. All right, that should be good. Let's see how it fits. Fits nice. Sweet. All right, here we go. Let's check it out. Screwed it back together, and voila, the wheel swap is complete. Our axle tubes work nicely. What do you think? Leave a comment below. Let me know what you think. Do these wheels look good? My son absolutely loves the wheels. He loves the interior, and he is happy. And I am happy. I think it turned out pretty slick. Got some details on the base. Got the screws, the reel riders, the details front and rear. Wheels do spin nicely. Got the white interior. Voila, set it on the axle jig and this thing looks sick. Let's go check it out. The Datsun 510, wheel swap complete. This thing is fire. Here's a poor man's rotisserie. I need to get me one of those little rotating wheels. Those things look so cool in video. I need to go ahead and break down, and I think you can get them on Amazon for like 10 bucks. So stay tuned for that. I will hopefully eventually have one of those where I won't have to use my hand. You won't have to see my nasty fingers in the way, and it'll look a lot more professional. But for now, this will have to do. Yep, happy with it. Looks good. My son loves it. I want to thank each and every single one of you for watching this. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. Leave a comment and I will try to reply.